Did you know that while most of America was struggling through the Great Depression, high society was still hosting extravagant parties? It's an interesting paradox, isn't it? On one hand, you have millions of Americans grappling with unemployment and poverty, barely scraping by. On the other, you have the elite, the crème de la crème of society, living in a bubble of opulence, seemingly untouched by the economic crisis. This stark contrast paints a vivid picture of the resilience of high society during these hard times. Despite the stock market crash of 1929 and the subsequent economic downturn that swept across the nation, the upper class managed to maintain their lavish lifestyle. It was as if they were living in a different realm altogether, a realm where the woes of the Great Depression were nothing more than whispers on the wind. The resilience of high society was not just about maintaining appearances, though. It was a display of defiance, a refusal to succumb to the gloom and doom that the Great Depression had cast over the country. They clung fiercely to their traditions, their parties, their fashion, and their way of life. Picture this: grand balls hosted in opulent mansions, tables laden with gourmet food and expensive champagne, women dressed in the finest silks, and men in tailored suits. Jazz music filled the air, laughter echoed through the halls, and the dance floor was a swirl of colors and movement. Meanwhile, outside these gilded walls, people were queuing up for hours to get a loaf of bread. It was a time of great hardship for many, yet the high society parties carried on, their lights shining bright in the darkness of the Great Depression. But why did they do it? Was it ignorance, indifference, or was it a desperate attempt to cling to normalcy, to create a semblance of stability in an unstable world? The answer perhaps lies somewhere in between. So while the majority of Americans were lining up for bread, the upper crust were dancing the night away. You might be surprised to find out that fashion did not take a back seat during the Great Depression, especially in high society. Now let's delve into the fashion trends of the era. During the Great Depression, high society women often wore long body-hugging dresses. These dresses, designed to accentuate the female form, were a stark contrast to the loose, drop-waist flapper dresses of the Roaring Twenties. These new designs reflected a more serious and somber mood of the time, yet they were far from plain. These dresses often had intricate detailing, such as beading, sequins, and even fur trim, showcasing the wealth of the wearer and the skill of the dressmaker. As the economy struggled, these details became a way for high society to display their wealth and status. Each dress was a statement, a symbol of resilience in the face of hardship. On the other hand, high society men continued to dress sharply. Formal suits and ties were the norm, a show of wealth and status. However, the suits of the Great Depression era were not just about opulence. They were also about practicality. The suits were often made of durable materials, designed to last for years. The suit was a symbol of stability in a time of uncertainty. A well-tailored suit was not just a fashion statement, but a sign of a man's resilience and determination. It was a way for men to assert their position in society, to show that they were not defeated by the economic crisis. In this era of hardship, fashion was not just about vanity, it was a form of escapism, a way for high society to distance themselves from the harsh realities of the Great Depression. It was a way to maintain a sense of normalcy, to hold on to the glamour and elegance of the past. So as the world grappled with economic despair, high society turned to fashion. They used it as a tool, a way to express their resilience, to assert their status, and to escape from their troubles. In a time of economic despair, fashion was a form of escapism for high society. Social events were not just for entertainment, they were a strategic tool for high society during the Great Depression. Now let's delve into the art of networking. When the stock market crashed in the late 20s, the world was thrown into economic turmoil. But for the upper crust, socializing was not just about champagne and canapes. It was a survival strategy. The high society of that era understood the power of networking long before it became a buzzword in our modern business world. These soirees, galas, and dinner parties were the LinkedIn of the early 20th century. They were platforms for the elite to connect, discuss business, and secure deals. The who's who of society used these gatherings as a means to maintain their wealth, and in some cases even grow it amidst the financial chaos. Remember, during the Great Depression, the banks were failing, businesses were closing, and jobs were scarce. But the high society, they were playing a different game. The deals made over cocktails and under chandeliers were a lifeline for many. In an era where trust was scarce, These social gatherings offered an environment of familiarity and comfort. The art of networking was not limited to the gentlemen in the room. The ladies, often dismissed as mere social butterflies, were just as strategic. They were the ones who often organized these events, deciding who would be in the room, and therefore who had access to these crucial networks. Don't mistake these gatherings for mindless frivolity. Each conversation, each introduction was a potential opportunity, a chance to secure a business deal, to forge a new alliance, to protect their wealth from the economic storm raging outside. The art of networking was a game of chess, played on a dance floor rather than a checkered board. The Great Depression might have been a time of hardship for many, but for the high society, it was also a time of strategic socializing. In the midst of an economic crisis, high society used their social circles to protect their wealth. In the 1930s, high society women played a significant role in maintaining the family's social standing. During the Great Depression, even as the world seemed to be crumbling around them, the women of high society were tasked with preserving the facade of prosperity and grace. They became the ambassadors of their families, the faces that smiled and charmed, all the while carrying the responsibility of their family's reputation on their well-dressed shoulders. These women were expected to host parties and social events, creating an illusion of affluence in the midst of widespread economic despair. These gatherings were not merely for entertainment or distraction, but served a strategic purpose. They were networking platforms where alliances were formed, business deals were brokered, and marriages were arranged, all in the name of protecting and enhancing their family's wealth and status. Think of it as high-stakes social chess, where every move was calculated with precision. The women were the queens on this board, moving strategically, making connections, and ensuring their families stayed in the game. In fact, the role of women extended beyond hosting duties. They were often the ones who managed the family's finances, making crucial decisions about where to invest, what to cut back on, and how to preserve their wealth. It was a delicate balancing act, a dance of diplomacy and discretion. And through it all, they were expected to look flawless, to dress impeccably, to radiate an aura of elegance and refinement. They were the epitome of grace under pressure, their courage and resilience often hidden behind a veneer of pearls and silk. But let's not forget, these women were more than just strategic socialites. They were mothers, daughters, and wives. They were the heart of their families, providing emotional support and stability in a time of uncertainty and fear. Even in times of hardship, women were the pillars of high society. They were the strength behind the smiles, the courage behind the elegance, and the brains behind the beauty. Despite the challenges and hardships of the Great Depression, they remained steadfast, ensuring their families not only survived, but thrived. The Great Depression reshaped America, but high society managed to maintain its status and influence. This era of economic hardship was a litmus test for the elite, a test they passed with flying colors. Their legacy, a testament to the enduring power of opulence, style, and political clout. High society's influence was perhaps most visible in the realm of fashion. Even as the economy crumbled around them, the upper crust continued to set the sartorial trends. Their love for ostentatious attire and flamboyant accessories didn't wane. Instead, it became a form of escapism, a beacon of hope in a world clouded by despair. The high society of the Great Depression era was the bellwether of fashion, their styles emulated and admired long after the era ended. But the legacy of high society extended beyond the realm of couture. It seeped into the very fabric of American culture. The lavish parties, the grand social events, the art of networking, all these became ingrained in the cultural psyche. The glittering galas of the era weren't just about opulence, they were about forging connections, building alliances, and maintaining a firm grip on power. And then there was the political influence. The Great Depression was a time of great political upheaval. Yet the high society managed to stay afloat, their political clout undiminished. They continued to shape policies and influence decision-making, their voices echoing in the corridors of power even when the country was on its knees. Let's not forget the role of women in all this. They were the custodians of their family's wealth and status, the torchbearers of elegance and sophistication. Their influence too persisted, shaping societal norms and expectations long after the Depression ended. The Great Depression was a time of hardship for many, but for high society, it was a time of resilience and adaptation. Their legacy, a testament to the enduring allure of wealth, the power of style, and the indomitable spirit of the American elite.